Surprising, dramatic, and fast, I think is the only really way to look at the cafe that we've just seen. MIBR get completely swept aside by the CL team looking for OGBR, and we are about to see if they can replicate that again, or if MIBR have had maybe one of the best team talks of all time. Clubhouse is our second map that we visit.
We need a big wake-up call for MIBR. That's what we're lacking. We need them to try and get revitalized. Straight off the rip, a Thermite ban on the old Clubhouse. So one Heartbreacher gone. Will we see another? No, Thatcher Thermite combo off the table. But, so, the way I look at it now is that Kaid is always going to be chosen whenever you, of course, you're dealing with Abana charges. You know, Thermite can technically trick, Kaid. The detonation is quicker than what a Kaid charge would be, whereas Habana pellets, they're not.
Yeah, and we've seen a lot of Kaid from this region. We've seen them attempt it way more in terms of the trickery than they have Bandit, generally. They seem to be a bit more active in how they want to play it. So it would be, obviously, a potential go-to. We've already, obviously, talked a lot about banning Hard Destruction and this map in and of itself, but we're going to opt for the Church and Arsenal room. Now, if you somehow missed the first game of this setup, as we said very briefly before, it was 7-1 to looking for Org Brazil, and it was a convincing 7-1. They never looked really pressured. They were on top of their game and on top of MIBR's game for the entire duration, and you just kind of want to see a little bit more from MIBR this time.
So because Thermite's banned, you're probably thinking, okay, Cash should be really decent for the defense. You know, you don't have to worry about the massive Thermite charge. Being Electroclaw, that can be dealt with, and then Thermite, of course, can open up and create that massive gap. Honestly, I don't really think it's going to phase the attacks. The reason why is you can do the old Maverick trick, where you can cut the line right across the top of the double wall and right across the bottom. It destroys the reinforcement and makes both those walls soft. Then you have the multitude of operators that can deal with opening up soft breaches. So that's probably going to be the way I think attacks are going to deal with that on that standpoint. And of course, you can still use your Habana to open up the garage, for example, which we've seen teams do before. And more importantly, you have the Habana for the basement, to open up hatches. That's going to be the big thing. Moto hatch is probably going to be Kaid tricked a lot by Hogzord playing, the Kaid. And I think Maverick is going to be great at specifically opening up that one hatch, because he only has two. You can get one or the other. It's not as if it's like the old Kaid, whenever it was first released with the free, and Novi's already getting shot up. The Pulse trying to roam. Typically, we see him more on site because of the information he can gather with the cardiac scanner.
Well, if I'm honest, it seems a little bit like rotten timing. As we've just seen RDZ do there, they were just shooting open the window on that stair rotation as he happened to pass. Kind of lucky. Usually when I suffer those, I'm instantly hit in the face, but he's still alive to live for another day and is going to head down to the basement to keep control. You could see that they're already trying to get quick and fast control of these upper top floors and make sure they have everything before they shut down. And as I said, this is where you're going to see this Pulse swinging around, getting that information, and going to try and C4 to those taking their time mavericking through the drop downs of hatch. Trying to keep those Habanas for as long as they can, have the diffuser with the Habana, so potentially going to try and lock it down. But Cyber is the one to open up the swing of things, taking care of Miracle, and that is the Buck gone. So a big cost of frag grenades there, and it's going to make cracking things open that little bit harder. The C4s are still waiting for a moment to be used, but now they're just going to have to shoot through these holes in the floors. I'm kind of curious why the Buck didn't open them earlier. Novus again is just waiting for the right possible moment to swing the C4, but maybe he's just going to hold it until they're a little bit closer. And the same time, the collapse is coming from the opposite sides, and it seems like looking for Org just want to start opening up as much as they can.
Oh, we could see a sneaky Maverick in towards Dirt, and, well, Bullet, he will be there. Has to be cautious of that. And typically, Bullet now, whenever he sees the Maverick over to this side, he knows that Maverick's going to open up, because what's the point of Maverick coming over here and wasting some utility to open up two holes, which will give him nothing? They know construction now is going to be a task that Bullet, he's basically taken over the fight. He's now on a sole 1v1, but it doesn't really matter, as everybody else from MIBR, they're jumping on with it. Novi, C4 being detonated, and that explodes in towards looking for Org, and now I think they've came to a stop sign.
Well, Alpha has found his way in and is creeping down the dirt tunnel looking for this smoke that he's droned out so many times, but completely all over that push, and now MIBR 5-1. BMH, the last left alive, finds the wide swinging Hugzord. He threw his life away there, but I think it was just to end the round and puts bullets towards another. But they take the first round for the first time today, put themselves a round up. This is much better than the MIBR we saw on the previous map.
Everybody did their job. Pulse, in kitchen, C4, standard stuff, Bullet taking that 1v1 against the Maverick. Just everything just went in favor of MIBR there, to be honest. And not much we can really comment on, apart from just unfortunate for looking for Oregon. Now we go into Cash Room, which will be the more interesting prospect to see how LFO are going to try and deal with this, because this will be tricky enough if they haven't really thought about going for the full Maverick where they clear that cross, but they've brought Sledge and Buck. Oh, just the Buck is... Twitch now comes in, so that could try and help them with the Electro Claw. It's going to be tricky, though, to get past it. Oh, never mind, Capitao now, which makes a lot more sense whenever, of course, Garage is always going to be favored for the attackers to take control of.
They're just hot potatoing every operator at that point, trying to keep you on your toes. Yeah. We can now see them start to close down against, obviously, the top of floor, and again, it's a much better MIBR. I just want to kind of... explain that in the previous one, Looking for Org were having a good game. They were solid on their strats, and for the start of that, they were solid so far, but it was MIBR actually doing their jobs this time around, which previously we just did not see. If we even just think of their defenses and the Maestro that they had playing on the top floor on the far side, and Cafe just wasn't playing against him. The Roamers weren't collapsing, the cover wasn't there, and it all fell apart. So yes, LFO played well, but MIBR playing rubbish played into that. Now LFO are going to have to start meeting against a team that's actually seemingly awake and trying to play for points, so it should theoretically be a much closer game either way. Setting themselves up to get that Electro Claw control from underneath. Does that work? That's a very impressive place to put one.
Yeah, that should be able to kind of eliminate any factors of the Garage breach coming in, and since, of course, that factor's gone, nothing to worry about. Interestingly, from Bullet, he's decided to open up below. So possibly we could see them try and hold Lounge and C4 or try and kill anybody, pushes in for the breach. And like we expected, the Maverick trick will come in where he's just going to try and open up the reinforced walls, and it allows, you know, like the Buck or the Sophia just to simply open up the soft walls whenever it gets made. It just takes a little bit more time, but of course doable on a map like Clubhouse where things tend to move a lot slower than the norm. But Garage is still, I think, the next thing that they need to kind of look towards. Capitao is going to be the big impact, and really a lot of pressure, I would say, on Capitao to make sure he can land these Capitao hours in the correct position and try and eliminate the Maestro.
Well, that was the Mavericking Open that you talked about earlier, and they've done it very quickly and very effectively. Over just under 2 minutes left on the clock, and they have that entire wall pretty much how they want it, with BMH trying to pincer down that Maestro, making sure that he cannot really move an inch without having that inch shot off as Alpha tries to cover up on the opposite side. You can see them setting themselves up for a collapse again. This is what they did pretty well previously. They were able to get their strategies together and run. It was just MIBR weren't really responding. This time, Hugzord's at least being a bit active underneath with a big shotgun, waiting for anyone to swing just a little bit too wide. They still have all of the Garage control, and it is the man from behind that takes care. The great spots coming out for the Bucks to completely take advantage. And look at the rotation on the far side around the strip club area. Gonna pop in and could drop Miracle if Miracle isn't expecting it to come from the left swing here. This could be a big decisive moment, and there it is. Brilliant collapse back towards the point from Novice, and now it is a 4-2 in MIBR's favor.
What I don't get is what Buck was, you know, looking at. He wasn't even ADS. He was looking at the wall. Why would you not just look at the standard angle where anybody could come from, but perhaps not expecting Jaeger to be towards that side of the map? And he has played Divinant for it. So, 4v2, MIBR in a great nick, and, well, there is one kill back for them, but still it's going to be tricky enough whenever, of course, that Garage Maestro still there, which was never dealt with, simply because of the roam game that MIBR put up in towards the aggressive side of the map. Smoke arrow does get sent in. Just Maestro has to be careful, and even so his Capitao have to be careful. The C4 being launched at his face. Oh, there's a push-in. Uses the ability of the LMG to spray and pray, and there's the refrags, and everything just crumbles now as MIBR, they will take yet again another round, 2-0 for them.
It was clean, it was effective, and hey, again, this is what we wanted to see previously. They're so far pretty good control and pretty good responses to what is being thrown their way. Looking for Orc of some creative ideas, but then it just starts to kind of... they're actually being responded to at this point. As we said, one of the worst things previously was MIBR would just give them land, give them territory, give them real estate, and let them have it and keep it and do with it whatever they wanted. Now they're being active and responding. They're losing a life, sure, we saw the Buck take one, but then you could see in the distance the man come screaming and careening over to at least get a bit of revenge and take some of that ground back. It's kind of the fire that we missed previously. Can they keep this up, I guess, as we go through to the third point? Jim, often the third point for a lot of teams, and can they set themselves up with a bit more of a hold? Brought the castle and brought, well, nothing to really electrify the wall this time, so it looks like they might just kind of hand this over, potentially, with the Jacuzzi side and hold it a bit closer. They're still going to castle up the Gym window and potentially play it with a bit of aggressive rotation in between, but no, they're actually going to castle off both the doors.
It's not a bomb site just for, you know, almost every team. It is the bomb site for every team on their third pick. Because Bar is hot trash, hot garbage, as we'll come to terms and use it. But, you know, Gym Bedroom, I think, allows you to have much more control in what the kind of attackers gain from it. Bomb sites are very small and they're very close to each other. You can kind of hold both of them from inside of construction, for example. Extension in towards the cache is not an uncommon thing. This is, again, the kind of norm setup that a lot of teams go for. Sometimes the castle barricades kind of differ in where they want to place them. The standard 2 being placed on the Gym, but then you're not bringing a bandit to kind of follow up. So why would you castle off the Gym window and then the Gym doorway, but not then bring the bandit? That makes no sense. Not even a kite. Nothing. Why?
Yeah, it kind of stings if maybe they accidentally did two strategies at once and someone didn't six pick when they were supposed to, but here is the Maverick going to burn his way in, as we've already seen them do pretty well. They're very confident doing this, and Miracle's just going to cover the drop down. I like the Maestro cam that they've put in cache, because it means when that does get opened, it's going to, or CCTV even, because it means when that does get opened, it's going to force them to play a bit more aggressively, because that will be hard to get rid of information.
It's not even that. In that position, you can probably see out in towards the balcony, I think, in an extent, so that could also help them in. And M-King actually sees a couple of feet moving around. Just comes off at the meantime, but for MIBR, they're holding steady, holding firm, and well, I think for looking for Org, they're going to try and sack away the cache holes. You know, they see the kind of creative setup that MIBR have with the aggressive rotation hole in towards the staircase that allows rotations and the aggressive frags that the Jaeger can try and put in. Instead, they will force their way in through the breach and probably in through the logistics office as well. But will Sledge take the deep plunge, cooks a nade, and just careful of anybody could be lurking. And, well, ADS actually snags that one up, and that was lucky if you're novice.
Yeah, that's good utility usage, and I think what we're seeing from looking for Org is they're a bit stumped as to how and trying to take this team down. They're slowly burning their way through, or at least attempting to, and they're going to open up the jump through hatch, but he's all out of fire, and now he's just got to try and push his way around, and they've still got the castle as well, so they didn't even opt to take it to destroy that. So instead, now they're just going to have to try and find bodies through the slight opening they've got, but with 45 seconds, that man better get a punch in. And now, well, at least Sophia's there to make it a little bit easier. All doubling up towards the Gym side as they drop either, but without anyone really in construction, without anyone really on cross, they've got to take logistics hard and fast, and they don't quite make it work, unfortunately. Good attempt from the Sledge, but the double cover was there, and Bullet and Novus both escape with fractions of their health. Highs is covering the rotation on the other side. They have the diffuser in point. They're going to throw it behind, but remember that Maestro cam was one we've seen earlier. Not sure if that's been removed yet, but either way, they will have the information. We'll know where it is. Alpha finds one. In the meantime, Creed's all the way up. There's a man that does the jump out, and he gets dropped by Alpha, but the diffuser is cold on the floor. They have to find a way in. They cannot, and this is just a matter of them falling apart yet again to an MIBR defense.
MIBR set up shop and really looking for Org, pushing into the ways of that MIBR want them to go for. You know, you look in towards the logistics. They were set up very well. ADS to cover the nade that was trying to be bounced in by Sledge. The numerous amount of goo mines, and Legion showing why he's so strong in a map like Clubhouse, where we know it takes a lot of time for attackers to set up. We don't see it be rushed, and that shows why Legion is great, because whenever those final instants come in, nearly everybody gets hit by one at the same time.
Church and Arsenal we go back to, and this kind of feels a little bit remnant of the previous game, in which case you wonder what Looking For All can kind of bring to stop this. They seem to stumble, they seem to stammer, they seem to stutter as soon as they hit the defense, and when everything starts having to fall apart and fall together in the final 30 seconds, a lot of those times the puzzles don't look very good on anyone's palette. Now, we're seeing, obviously, this time it's Looking For All that are struggling rather than MIBR previously, and MIBR are looking solid. Even if we think about that last defense, where yes, they had the diffuser in point, there was still at least 4 of the MIBR players still standing at the time of the diffuser attempt to be planted. They never looked panicked. They dropped the diffuser carrier very concisely, and then just kind of waited and relaxed and sat back, and this is what we expected to see in that first game.
Attackers are moving out to locate a bomb and defuse.
All right, Looking For Org, they're on the flip side of what they did to MIBR in Cafe. So looking at their lineup, they switched up some operation, Twitch being brought in and Ash there as well, so fragging potential is on the table for them, but perhaps lacking the utility, such as the Capitao or Sophia could provide. Sure, they have the buck, and perhaps they could go for a kitchen take. But last time we seen them try and pressure in towards the dirt, Bullet was there, armed and ready with an SMG-11. No roams being added in by MIBR, which is expected, of course, on the basement of Clubhouse. And sure, sometimes we see an odd roam or two, but typically is neutralized by the attackers very early on. So I think for MIBR, they're looking to play it slow and trying to revolve around the C4 potential that Navi can hand out. And he did get a kill with the Nitrocell the last round, and if he can repeat that, it would be some pretty great stuff. Maverick is going to have to be brought in to eliminate Blue Hatch, as the Electroclaw will be there, ready to go.
He's just waiting.
Yeah, typical.
Yeah, waits, plays around with a stick and electrifies some hatches, but no one's really stopping him so far. A minute 45, and there is a lot of space to this map for them to get their way through, but they're still just, well, making their way through. Cyber has been quite aggressive with the blue hold, waiting for someone to swing in or swing down on the hatch, and the hatch above is staring at feet, but can't quite find any as of yet. Just relying on the Maverick and the Hibana for now, as Thermite is obviously off the board, and so far Maverick's been pretty effective in getting open what they want, but has had a habit of being the first off the board as well. So hopefully they keep him a little bit more healthy as we go further into the round. Miracle and Highs cracking open as much holes above as they can, see if they can find a body as they set themselves up for what is a multifaceted push here. You can see them also spread out, and this could come back to haunt them if they don't start finding their way in on either side. With 3 on one side and 2 on the other, and M-King, well, taking advantage of the man above in Kitchen, it's looking worse and worse for Looking For Org.
Trying to creep in towards Blue, but they will be met by a Jaeger. Cyber holding it down behind the lockers, and there's the Twitch trying to peek on in, but of course he has that shield, and well, they know where he is, and they know exactly what to pre-fire, but of course he will always have that advantage with the potential peek, and Bullet just gives himself away. That's not the best from him. Surprised why he would try and smoke, and there's Navi, does get a kill, but then the quick refrags start flooding in from MIBR as well, and now it's just a 1v3 as Alpha does get 1, but that's all he's going to get this round, it seems to be, as everybody at MIBR collapses in. Oh, another one for him. But it doesn't matter. Diffuser not even in hand, and MIBR a 4-0 lead in Clubhouse.
Well, we talked briefly about them struggling on time, and it's really shown by the fact that all of these rounds are ending with maybe 5 seconds left on the board, if that. They struggle to get themselves together, LFO, and then they struggle to make something of it when they can't quite find the opening frag. And it's one of those things that we said you often see from less experienced teams, is being able to keep your momentum and being able to keep that fire when things aren't looking so great. If you can't expect where the defenders are, fine. You've got to still find some aggression. You've got to still find some movement, because if you freeze up, if you waste 10, 20 seconds, you'll be praying for that at the end when you try and break towards that church. CCTV and Cash, and it looks like, if I'm honest, we're careening to maybe our first 3 maps on a best of 3, as this is a completely different showing to the first map that we saw go through.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to be on for the 3rd map, and whenever we go there to Coastline, or not Coastline, it's Bank, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
I'm still thinking for the last matchup, which would have been the decider Coastline, but we didn't even get that, not even an inch towards Coastline in that last series.
No, This is to make up for the previous.
Yeah.
For the speed of the previous one. To be fair, though,
it's still 2 like potential like 7-0-7-1 score lines.
Yeah, like it's still very, very quick games tonight, and that's the thing about this region. Obviously, when we kind of looked at the open qualifiers, is that the teams that signed up got to play in the closed qualifiers just because there wasn't a huge interest. So if you are a budding Siege player in LATAM, put a team together. Who knows what stage you might end up on? You might get 7-0'd by Pro League teams.
Yeah, you might get yourself out there as being known to get 14-0'd.
But
hold on a minute, that's not a good thing.
Having a great time doing it.
Do you know that for certain? Would you have liked to be 14-0'd?
There was a lot of KKKKKKK in chat.
4-4-4-4-4? Oh wait, sorry, wrong region, apologies.
That's EU. Looking for OGA now, starting their approach and starting their push. Here is MIBR, again, playing pretty comfortably, playing pretty consistently. And I complimented LFO on this in the previous map, so it feels like I've got to do the same for MIBR, is they're not being over-aggressive with it. I think they realized that there's a bit on the line. They realized they had to have a team talk and bring themselves back to the standard we expect from them, and they're doing it pretty well so far. And to be honest, that relaxed attitude and that kind of confidence in letting them push on you is what is eating up so much of LFO's time. I guess we'll see if that can translate to attacks when they do make the switch over, but that is the big wall cracked, and now we saw this last time. LFO managed to get this wall done around the same time. They're being pretty step for step is what they managed before, but this isn't the bit that matters.
M-King, still alive and well. Capital needs to try and pressure that Maestro as well as they can, because they have great crossfire angles. If he does move, then he'll be a dead man, especially this one being held by BMH. An angle we don't see all too often, but a very useful one whenever you are trying to target Catwalk. Now the two softer structures, Buck and Sophia, looking in towards Lounge, but they will be met by Cyber still on the roam game with the Jaeger. One still inside of Garage, which they haven't droned out yet, and this could prove dividend for them as Miracle looking to try and get in it, but misses a shot, but that's information being read, but the quick rotate down blue stairs is enough to finish them off, and that's great communication from MIBR, and it's a complete different side of them compared to their cafe.
Well, they have the opening frag every single round so far, and I just think it kind of shows into how they're playing. There is what you wanted from the Capital. Drops the Maestro down and out, and they're trying to pick him back up, and they're trying to finish him, and it's a bit of a back and forth here. Kaid cannot do the magic and has to watch from a foot away as his friend and colleague is put out of his misery. RDZ, in the meantime, is trying to find something against this east wall as the rest of the team are going to try and take as much of Garage as possible, and again, we're seeing a split push, but it's at least a little bit more concentrated than the previous round. They are together, and I think that's a fairer thing to say than their push against Church, but they were completely spread out. LFO take the body count advantage, and they flash out, but there is yet again another gun cover as they find one. Cyber drops Alpha. The wide push from one gets it down, but there's Zafia suffering the same fight, and MIBR lock another round and put themselves on 5-0.
Do you like Bank?
I love Bank. I said this last time.
You're going to see some Bank.
I said this last time, last LATAM play day. Bank in LATAM.
We're going to be seeing some Bank.
Good.
Hope you're ready for it.
I am. Emotionally, maybe not. Emotionally, I still think I'm in the first map of the day that we saw. I think I'm still stuck there.
You're a broken man today.
Yeah.
What's happened to you?
Having a good time.
Why are you like this, huh? What happened? How many friends you got?
You saw it on stream. You saw what we all saw the first game. Gym bedroom we go to. No castle this time. They're not doing half a strategy.
Is the answer 1?
What?
Is the answer to how many friends you got 1?
No. What? I don't know where this is going.
Hey, I'm just assuming here, bro.
Wow.
Need to locate and defuse
Why are you,
as many bombs as
why are you being mean?
I'm not being mean.
You're being
I'm just
mean.
asking the question.
Is this how the players feel when you just talk smack about them?
Well,
I'm with the players.
I don't know. I'm
I'm
just
going to join them.
okay.
You're too mean.
Yeah, I used to join the players, and then they turned on me.
Yeah. Unfollowed
They'll
you
turn
on
on
Twitter.
you as well.
5-0. Which is the current scoreline, which is
Yeah.
careening towards a 6-0, if we're fair. They have opted to swap to the castle. Bullet is going to bring the castle this time. But still no electronic denial. So I'm curious. I guess they're doing their aggressive hold that they want us to do. They've popped one in on the construction window, and they've popped one, I'm assuming, well, 2 on the gym side as well. And I guess it's just their way of limiting the pace.
It makes no sense, though.
No, not really. It just kind of, for what they know that's being brought as well, there's been consistent long-range soft destruction from either Ash or Sapphire. There's been a double up on that with Buck every time. They've actually bought the sledge this time too, maybe specifically to expect and deal with these castles. The Maverick has been the hard destruction, no thermite, and they bought the IQ as well. So it's, you know, they know that it's a team that is happy and confident to roll into the soft destruction.
Let's see if they can keep pushing. Pushing and pushing. That's a classic line from you, isn't it?
What?
And they're pushing, and they're pushing. That's one that you like to do, isn't it?
Mm. Yeah.
You're really broken from like the first round, aren't you? From the first game.
No, I'm watching this, and you're just staring at me. There's a game on. Are you not aware of
Yeah,
this?
it's Clubhouse. Nothing's going to happen until like 1:30.
It's on the screens, though. You got to talk about the screens. Got to talk about the match.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of screens in CCTV.
Yeah.
Look, that's the old Clubhouse on the screens.
I know, it's cool.
Yo, did they never change that? Because that's pretty wild that that's not been changed.
Is that an Easter egg? Can we put that on Reddit?
That's definitely something that I'm sure none of the development team would have thought to change.
Let's put that on Reddit and get some karma.
Forgot about that. That's crazy.
Oh, no, we won't get karma because it's in a Pro League match. It's in a
Oh,
match.
look, still, look, minute 30, nothing's happened. I was correct.
He's creeped up the stairs. Ash has found his way in the middle of a lot of firefight, misses the back and just swings in, finds one body, he doesn't find the second. Oh, didn't expect them to be a little bit further wide. The Legion Halloween skin lives up to the nightmares there as Cyber finds Miracle in the meantime, and there's another one suffering the fate as the wide swing comes out via CCTV. BMH still has some fuel in the canister and is able to open up the hole that they couldn't quite manage previously, and it gives them a little bit more ground to get in. But with Alpha in a very, very hard place to revive them, they're just going to have to try and keep picking the firefight. Maverick dropped as he tries to rotate in. RDZ in the long battle here, and they are theoretically the only one left. 45 seconds, and yes, they're blinking, and that sledge is rotating at 1,000,000 miles an hour and trying to helicopter himself up to safety, but this IQ is kind of really in an impossible situation. Bullet jumps out, puts the spinning man out of his misery, and RDZ gets quite a nice drift by, but again suffers a huge amount of damage as the two guns blow through the Maverick hole and blow us over to a 6-0 and the turning of the tides.
It's just wild that we have seen one team dominate on the other team's map pick, and then we expect that team to continue that domination on their map pick, but then the other team has just went and dominated not on their map pick.
I'm glad we're seeing MIBR show up, if I'm honest, because they're a team, as we said, that they've kind of got a lot of history, and they're capable of so much, and otherwise they've just really, I mean, in the first game, they were just not there. They were running strategies with half a heart and half a mind, and none of it really came together. Whereas this, it's hard to kind of pinpoint what the change has been, if it's the effort or if it's the energy, but they are just shutting everything down. And, you know, looking for Org, it's hard to say that they're doing anything differently, because they're not. They are the same energy levels, the same pace, and the same pressure as previously applied, but at this point, it's just none of it is landing.
Honestly, if we see MIBR go ahead and win bank, I think that just proves that best of ones has been their domain.
No, it's fair. Obviously, they've struggled and barely pulled draws out at the best of times against some big teams, and you kind of see them on this stage in this situation where they looked just miserable in the first map, and the second one is you know, different swan song story. And I guess if they do completely swipe this as a 7-0 and then move on to the next one, and even if they pull it out as a win, it's just a better kind of situation for them. And I guess hopefully it shows that, yeah, it's the difference of the sprint teams versus marathon teams.
Yeah, and they've just kicked into sprint mode all of a sudden. It's not as if it's been played really slow by MIBR. But then again, we haven't seen them on the attack. And perhaps we could say, oh, Clubhouse, your defender side and all that stuff. Still, I think a 6-0. Whenever we see a team go 6-0 up on a map, we never see them lose that, do we?
It's rare to. I mean, maybe one or two.
I can't even recall a time where I've seen that happen. I've seen 5-1s before, sure, but never 6-0s. 6-0s just asserts the dominance.
Yeah, it gets you set up. It gets you ready to kind of swing into it. As we said, momentum's a big thing, and if you're going to win one round in an entire half, you want the round just before the turning of the half, because that gives you a little bit of mentality, a little bit of kind of heart to be able to push forward. Alpha's not wasting any time trying to find the firefight, but doesn't quite land anything, and it's just going to pull back and retreat to safety as they throw everything down into this basement floor. Now, I said before, this is a very wide point. There's a lot of possible entries and a lot of possible angles to hold, and they're just going to kind of set themselves up to be assured to cover against all of the MIBR onslaught. MIBR instantly swinging around, but Bullet is the first to go. Put a lot into BMH in the far side of Church, but not enough to make it really worth it, as the Severe is taken out of the equation.
Yeah, and that's the Maestro cameras now being intact, because Sophia gone. Only way they can get rid of them is pretty much by Maverick going right up to him, which I don't feel he's going to have that courtesy of being able to do so. So now for looking for Orc, still scattered around towards the bomb site, and you see Maverick trying to open up in towards the hatch. BMH has to be careful now, because if he does die, those Maestro cameras, they're not going to be able to be used as, you know, the laser side of things. He can't damage them. Just needs to try and play a little more safe and passive. They have opened up, I believe, in towards the dirt tunnel, but there's a goo mine that will alert Alpha if anybody comes that way. So I like the way that MIBR are trying to spread themselves out, but looking for Orc, they're set up to handle it nicely.
Well, here comes the slow and steady from this blue side. Already lost one here and going to pre-fire the other. They know where someone is, and they are still there. Well, they're just going to pull back as RDZ is still allowed to hold that off. Cyber's going to rotate for an alternate angle. They obviously still have Novus above, who's going to cap it out and force him out into a rotation, hopefully catch him, and that is wonderful play there to combine the two, but then there's a wonderful cover. Shoots through the body, and Miracle is free to swing back ground and lie back down. With BMH on the table and 25 seconds left, they've got to start formulating the push. Smoke is going to try and hold that down and swing in, finds one on Novus, and now it's a 3-2. Finds, well, maybe finds the second. It's, yeah, finally, Highs gets M-King, and now it is all swinging down to Hugzord. Pushes wide, but into an LMG that was just held and blowing as many bullets as it could.
Yeah, basement held well by looking for Orc. There was a questionable gunfight there in dirt, and if I'm not mistaken, Habana tried to pre-fire in with the Bearing 9, missed all the shots. The smoke didn't have any ammo left in the SMG-11, switched then to the smoke, missed 2 shotgun blasts, and then thought, you know what, I'm just going to try and knife her, and did. So that was a scrappy one.
Yeah, definitely. And I like how the Maestro did a 50 bullet pre-fire there. Just, there's a second left. And he had no choice but to sacrifice himself to the many bullets of Maestro. CCTV and Cash we go to. It's hard to kind of say whether this is an easier or harder defense one. It really depends on the team. Some of them prefer this kind of more mobile point than the others, where you've kind of just got to batten down hatches and hope. And I guess we'll see if looking for Olga, that kind of team looking for defense, setting themselves up to cover all of the bottom and make sure it's a bit easier to hear when things go wrong. Have the Bandit instead of the Kaids. They're going to potentially try to trick this and wait and listen, but as we said before, this can become quite a tough one to hold onto. If they swing it underneath, they get the cover on you. If they push red, they get the cover on you. If they grenade over the back windows and you haven't properly fortified it, they get the cover on you. There's a lot of angles and a lot of ways to die, so it's brave for any Bandit to attempt it against a well-coordinated team. But if you think back to previous MIBR and the previous map, they were not well coordinated. They've only really shown up so far on their defenses on this map, and I guess we'll see, as we said, if they can start to pick the pace up or if they fall back to old unfortunate habits of, well, losing.
MIBR bringing out the Dokkaebi now for a change, and well, I could try and help them, I think, with the final kind of aggressive push in towards the bomb site. You also have the smokes there, which we know are going to be great for covering off, and actually also bringing in the Capitao, so they have 4 sets of smokes, so they can cover a bountiful amount of kind of space in towards the cash room side of things. And I kind of feel for MIBR, they just need to try and play just as fast as they can to open up the wall, more importantly. And the more time that they can save by opening this up, it's going to help them in the long run. As we know, looking at Cafe, MIBR did struggle with a lot of the time management they had. And if that's something that they kind of get themselves back into the swing of things, then they could have a lot of issues with that.
Well, they're getting their drone work done pretty quickly and effectively. M-King has the bead and Bullet has the, well, Bullet, and takes care of Alpha, who is waiting and holding the angle, and that's the Valkyrie taken out of the equation, with information being her downfall. Maverick sounds like he's struggling a little bit with this wall.
He's getting there. It's tricky. It's a tricky, man.
He's going to keep working away.
You ever tried the blowtorch or reinforced wall with a bandit charge in real life?
Only a couple of times, and it's never really...
A couple of times.
Only a couple. BMH drops Cyber, brings the volleys back towards their swing, and it's going to take back control of Garage, which is a very vital room to keep control of, and it's kind of a shame MIBR didn't make the most of being able to drop the person right in the door. RDC's just chilling in logistics on the far side, waiting for anyone to push his way, but with the minute mark approaching, might start thinking about careening his way back across. In the meantime, they're still struggling to get Garage, still struggling to get underneath, and still struggling to get these bandit batteries that have so far been a big problem for them. Novus, the second victim to the Maestro in the garage.
Yeah, the Maestro in the garage has been a kind of big thorn in both teams' side. And oh, BMH just barely misses that headshot. And well, 2 failed concussion mines isn't going to bode well if you're Sophia. C4 gets tossed out randomly for absolutely no reason. That was tossed away, and BMH takes smooth work. And now you can see MIBR, they're back into the swing of things, but I think they've lost too many men to try and clear out that Maestro. And angle's still being held, constant information being gathered by the Maestro camera, and that's just through the wall. That's where those shots are coming from. Both of them stacking up. This is the worst thing that could happen now for MIBR. Tried to breach in charge whenever there is still that constant information, and looking for Org. Well, they take a second round, and now MIBR, they're looking pretty weak.
Yeah, they're just struggling to find answers for the questions being posed to them, and the same questions they kind of rose when they were defenders. And you do think that, you know, you kind of look at the operators they're bringing rather than throwing them, and if they could just find a slightly better way of doing it. Still, they're on match point. They've still got a buffer of about 4 rounds before they find themselves in real embarrassing trouble. I guess it's just, obviously, you can say that this side is defender-sided, but they just need a bit of ground, a bit of give, and potentially that's going to be from the hands of Lion, as they set themselves up to control what has been, for me, a very stationary looking for Org hold. Lion isn't really what I think is going to change too much here. They've generally seem to get the information on where they are, and when they are pushing in the firefight, normally looking for Org haven't really had to move that much.
No, MIBR have been very weird in kind of how they take things apart. Typically, you know, once you've got, you know, the wall open, the entire breach, your next goal should be, let's open up the catwalk, let's get that rid of, let's go ahead and have banner pellets over towards the double wall in the garage, let's create these different angles. You know, we've seen the Maverick holding it before, and then you have the Capital bolts that you can fire in through, which really have not been as well executed as what we've seen other teams, especially if you think back to our EU play day. Orgless, I thought in Clubhouse, they were a masterclass with the Capital.
Well, I think one thing worth pointing out here, very quickly, and it's the man that we're looking at now, is they've brought the Bandit alongside the castle. They've also got the Kaid as well. They've kind of doubled down on this, and this is the technique that both Demo and I called for in previous ones, where when you're bringing the castle, this is normally why you hold the Bandit in on this corner on Jacuzzi, and you try and get them to trick it, or hold it, or just do something with it. MIBR did like half of that strategy. They bought the castle and then didn't bring the electronic refusal, and at that point it was kind of just free real estate, and then they just shut it down aggressively from either side. But this is the standard way of doing it, and the standard way of holding it is it just gives you that safety that would otherwise be completely impossible to have, because you just pop that window open, shoot blindly through it, and normally you get the kill. Cyber is steadily working away on more architecture that he struggled with in the previous round, and hopefully he's found a bit of a better... Oh no, he's dead. He gets caught by the C4. We saw 2 wasted C4s in the previous round, but the first one in this actually meets its mark, and with Maverick off the board, that is now, well, pretty much impossible wall to get through.
Yeah, this honestly should be a lost round for MIBR, simply off the fact of not having the Maverick anymore. And even if they can open up the castle barricades and sure eliminate the bandit who may be trying the bandit trick, they still reinforce in towards bathroom, and the bandit can simply rotate around and go ahead and work on that wall instead. No kill though from Bullet as he tried to open up the castle barricade, and like we talked about now, really bandit should not be able to continue bandit tricking, but in the long run it's not going to matter. Like, they just don't have enough utility now since losing the Maverick.
Novus pushes around the backside, finds BMH on the main stairs, and Miracle's going to try and keep control of that with the smoke canisters for now, and, well, Smoke's whole utility kit. You can hear them doubling up on their push, worried about someone down in dirt tunnel peeking and peering across, and Novus is going to sacrifice a drone to the flank cover and make sure that that person doesn't come in behind them from the opposite side. Novus finds a second, and there's the man as the line ping goes off, and they are applying a little bit of pressure, and there's one from M-King for 2, with a lot of damage done to the 2 remaining defenders. This is the best situation they've looked, and they have a minute, and that is a very vital piece of information, because otherwise this is all boiled down to the end of time, and that is the end of this round. The second map finds its way to a 7-2, and we are going to, for the first time this series, head to the third, and it's LATAM, so it may as well be Banco.
Third map, finally! We get to see a third map, and that was a weird game there from MIBR, completely different to Cafe. Can they keep the momentum rolling and take this win? Let's see, after the break.
predict the outcome, win the game. Get live coverage and schedules for your favorite tournaments. Analyze, predict, and vote to gain points. Compete with other esports fans and climb the leaderboards. Strafe, everything esports. Download now on iOS and Android.